Hey everyone, today we're diving into cholesterol. And I know, it's a topic you probably think you have a handle on, but what if I told you the old rules, they're pretty much out the window? We're going to look at the new science for lifelong heart health, and trust me, it might just change how you think about your future. Let's get right into it. So let's kick things off with a big question. When should you really start thinking about your cholesterol? I mean, is it a switch that flips at 40 or 50? Well, the new thinking on this has a pretty surprising answer. The answer is way, way earlier than most of us assume. Here's what's so important to get. High cholesterol is totally silent. You usually don't feel any symptoms, but all the while, it can be causing plaque to start building up in your arteries, decades before you'd ever think to worry about it. And that brings us to the first new rule. And honestly, it's a huge shift. The old way of looking at cholesterol risk is basically gone. We're now working with a completely new playbook for heart health, one that's designed to last your entire life. The old way was reactive. It's kind of like waiting for the smoke alarm to go off after a fire has already started. The new approach, it's all about being proactive. It's about understanding that your risk isn't just about one blood test. It's about the risk that builds up over many, many years. The goal is to manage that total exposure starting as early as you possibly can. So think of it like this. A single cholesterol reading is just one snapshot. The new guidelines are about looking at the entire movie of your life and making sure it has a healthy ending. It's the total cumulative exposure your body has to high cholesterol over time that really matters for your future heart health. Okay, so if we're playing the long game, what do the numbers need to look like? It all comes down to knowing your targets. Let's take a look at what you and your doctor should be aiming for now. As you can see here, the big focus is on LDL, the bad cholesterol. Those numbers are in milligrams per deciliter, which is just the standard way of measuring this stuff in your blood. For most of us, the goal is to be below 100. But check out what happens when your risk goes up. Suddenly, the target drops to below 70. And for people who already have heart disease, it's even tighter, below 55. This is a really personalized way of looking at health.
And why does this matter so much? Well, the payoff is huge. The evidence is just crystal clear. The lower you keep your LDL over your lifetime, the lower your chance of having a heart attack or a stroke. Simple as that. That's what this is all about.
But LDL isn't the whole story. To really get a full picture of your risk, doctors are now looking at other markers too. You've got triglycerides, which are another type of fat in your blood. Then there's ApoB, which is a fantastic test because it tells you the actual number of bad cholesterol particles floating around. And finally, there's this really interesting one called lipoprotein A. Now, what's so unique about lipoprotein A, or LPA for short, is that your level is almost entirely determined by your genes. It's set from birth and doesn't really change. And that means for most people, you only need to get it tested once, just one time. It can tell you if you've inherited a higher risk for heart disease, no matter how healthy your lifestyle is.
And all this brings us to a whole new timeline for testing. And it starts really early. Guidelines are now suggesting that kids get screened just once between the ages of 9 and 11. For adults, it's a checkup every few years. But you do it sooner or more often if you have things like diabetes, high blood pressure, or a strong family history of heart issues. This is especially important in places like India, where heart disease can show up at much younger ages.
Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. Now for the most important part. What do you actually do with all this info? Let's build out your action plan. Your starting point is actually pretty simple. First, get a lipid profile. You've got to know your numbers. Second, talk to your doctor to really understand your overall lifetime risk. Third, everybody starts with lifestyle. Diet and exercise are the foundation, no question. But fourth, and this is a key change, medications like statins might be part of the conversation much earlier if your long-term risk is high, even if your numbers aren't terrible right now. When we talk about diet, I like to think of it as offense and defense. On the left here, you've got your offensive team. Veggies, whole grains, beans, oily fish, all the stuff that actively helps lower your LDL. And on the right, that's the stuff you want to limit because it pushes your LDL up. Think packaged snacks, sugary drinks, and processed meats. The goal is simple, have way more players on your offensive team. And of course, it's not just food. Your daily habits add up in a huge way. We're talking about 150 minutes of brisk walking a week. That can make a real difference. Keeping an eye on your waistline is also key. And if you smoke, quitting is single-handedly the most powerful thing you can do to protect your arteries from that plaque buildup. All right, to finish things up, let's play a little game of myth versus fact. I'm going to run through some of the most common and frankly dangerous misconceptions about cholesterol. Ready? There is so much confusing information out there, and some of these myths can really hurt your health. So let's set the record straight right now. Myth number 1. You only need to worry about cholesterol after you turn 40. The fact? Absolutely not. The damage can start in your teens or your 20s. Your future health is literally being built today. Okay, myth number 2. If I feel fine, then I am fine. The fact is, high cholesterol is called the silent killer for a very good reason. You can feel perfectly healthy while plaque is quietly building up inside your arteries. You just can't rely on symptoms. And finally, myth number 3. A good diet will fix everything. The fact? While diet is absolutely fundamental, for a lot of people, especially if you have a high genetic risk, medication is a necessary and life-saving tool to get your numbers down into a safe zone. So look, if you forget everything else we talked about when it comes to diet, just remember this one simple, powerful rule. It's not about perfection, it's about the overall pattern. More whole foods, less processed food. That's the heart of it all. So, we've gone over the new rules, the numbers that really matter, and your action plan. Just remember, this is a long-term game, and every single choice you make today is helping to build a healthier you for tomorrow. The only question left is, what's your first step going to be?